As I sat on the worn-out couch in my living room, the flickering television screen cast a warm glow across the room, illuminating the half-empty bag of chocolate chip cookies resting on my lap. I took another bite, savoring the sweet, buttery flavor. It was my little escape, a moment of bliss amidst the quiet solitude of my days. I glanced at the clock on the wall. It was just past 3 in the afternoon, and I was already knee-deep in my favorite afternoon ritual. "Hey, Maggie." My best friend Ruth's voice broke through my reverie as she stepped into my home unannounced, a habit of hers that I had grown to appreciate. "You won't believe what I found at the farmer's market today." I attempted to hide the cookie bag behind the couch, though I knew she'd probably catch a glimpse of it. "Oh, really? What did you find? More kale, I suppose?" I chuckled, knowing how much she loved her greens. "Actually, no. Fresh strawberries and some lovely heirloom tomatoes. You have to come with me next time. The market is bustling with life, and it's a great place to walk around," she replied, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Yeah, maybe," I said nonchalantly, taking another bite of the cookie. Ruth always worried about my health, and I knew I should be more mindful, but I craved these moments of indulgence, however fleeting they might be. "Maggie, you've got to get out more. I'm serious. You can't keep snacking your life away in front of the TV. It's not good for you," she insisted, her tone shifting to one of concern. I waved her off, a dismissive smile plastered on my face. "Oh, come on, Ruth. I'm just enjoying my retirement. I've earned it." She crossed her arms, tapping her foot impatiently. "You've also earned a healthy life. How about we go for a walk after you finish that cookie?" I hesitated. The thought of stepping outside felt daunting. "Maybe next time. I just want to relax today," I replied, trying to sound casual, even though deep down I felt a twinge of guilt. As Ruth continued to chat about her day, I couldn't help but think about the routine checkup I had a few days prior. The doctor's words echoed in my mind. "Your blood sugar levels are concerning, Maggie. We need to monitor them closely." I brushed it off at the time, attributing it to aging and the inevitable changes that came with it. But the nagging thought lingered, and I knew I needed to be cautious. Suddenly, I was transported back to a time when my life was filled with laughter and adventure. I remembered the days when I would hike up the mountains with my students, the wind whipping through my hair as we explored nature. I could almost hear their laughter, the thrill of discovery that fueled my passion for teaching. Those moments felt like a lifetime ago, and I longed to feel that spark again. "Maggie? Earth to Maggie!" Ruth's voice pulled me back to reality, and I found her staring at me with concern. "Are you okay?" "Yeah, just thinking," I replied, forcing a smile. "You know how it is. We really should get you out of this house more. How about joining me for a fitness class? It's just once a week, and I promise you'll love it. You might even meet some nice people," Ruth suggested, her enthusiasm unwavering. "A fitness class? At my age?" I scoffed, the idea feeling foreign and intimidating. "It's never too late to start. I'll be right there with you. Just think about it, okay?" she said, her voice softening. I nodded, but inside, I was still hesitant. The thought of stepping out of my comfort zone was daunting. Yet, as I looked around my living room, the familiar shadows of solitude loomed large. Perhaps it was time for a change, even if it terrified me. As Ruth left, I sat in silence, the remnants of my cookie snacks scattered around me. The television droned on, but I felt a flicker of something stirring within me, a desire for connection, for life. I took a deep breath, contemplating Ruth's invitation. Maybe, just maybe, I could take that first step toward rediscovering the vibrant person I once was. As I stepped into the fitness class, the air was thick with the scent of sweat and determination. I felt a wave of self-doubt wash over me, but before I could turn around and leave, I caught sight of Tom across the room. He was standing at the back, his gray hair slightly tousled, and a hesitant smile on his face that mirrored my own uncertainty. There was something comforting about knowing I wasn't the only one feeling out of place. "Hey there," Tom called out as I approached. Looks like we both took a leap of faith today, huh? Yeah, I guess so, I replied, forcing a smile. I'm Maggie. This is all a bit new for me. Tom, he said, extending his hand. I'm in the same boat. I usually prefer my couch and cookies, but my doctor had other plans. Cookies? I chuckled, feeling an instant connection. You and I are going to get along just fine. I have a serious sweet tooth. Me too. My doctor blames my cholesterol, he said, rolling his eyes. But honestly, who can resist a good chocolate chip cookie? As we chatted, the instructor, a lively woman in her 40s, clapped her hands to get our attention. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to focus on low-impact exercises that will get your heart rate up without straining your bodies. Let's have some fun. I felt my heart race, not from excitement, but from the sheer terror of making a fool of myself. I glanced at Tom, who seemed oddly at ease, and I decided to mirror his confidence. The class began with gentle stretches, and I followed along, feeling the tension in my muscles ease a little. As the session progressed, I noticed a change in myself. The energy of the class was infectious, and I found myself laughing at the silly moves we were encouraged to do. Tom was right there with me, his laughter ringing out above the others. You've got some moves, Maggie, he teased, and I couldn't help but grin. Just trying not to fall over. I shot back, enjoying the playful banter. We both left the class feeling invigorated, the endorphins buzzing through me like electricity. Same time next week? Tom asked, his eyes twinkling. Absolutely, I replied, feeling a flicker of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Over the next week, I couldn't shake the feeling of excitement from our first class. I looked forward to seeing Tom again and hearing about his life. We had exchanged stories of our past, and it was nice to reminisce about times filled with laughter and adventure. I shared tales of my teaching days, and he spoke of his late wife, her love for gardening, and how he still tended to the flowers they had planted together. Maggie, it's funny, he said one afternoon after the class. I think we both have a lot more in common than just our sweet tooth. Yeah, it's nice to connect with someone who understands what it's like to be, well, a bit lost, I admitted, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. Lost, maybe, but not alone, he replied, giving my arm a reassuring squeeze. As the week came to a close, I proposed an idea that had been brewing in my mind. What do you say we cook a healthy meal together? I mean, if I'm serious about changing my habits, I should probably learn how to make something other than takeout. Tom raised an eyebrow, a playful grin spreading across his face. Are you sure you want to take that risk? I'm a terrible cook. Me too, I laughed. It could be a disaster, but at least we'll have fun, right? Right, I'm in. Let's do it, he agreed, excitement evident in his voice. On the day of our cooking adventure, I felt a mix of nerves and anticipation. I had gathered a few ingredients, vegetables, grains, and spices, and Tom arrived with a bag of his own. I brought some carrots. They're supposed to be good for you, right? He joked. Perfect, I replied, but as we started chopping, I felt clumsy. My knife skills were lacking, and as I reached for a carrot to slice, it slipped from my hand, rolling across the floor. I burst into laughter, and so did Tom. Looks like the carrot decided it wanted to escape, he chuckled, bending down to retrieve it. Maybe it's trying to tell us to stick to cookies. Or maybe it's a sign that we need to spice things up. I teased, and we both laughed again, the sound filling the kitchen with warmth. That moment, that laughter, made me realize how far I had come in such a short time. I was no longer the lonely woman who spent her days snacking mindlessly in front of the television. I was Maggie, a woman ready to embrace life and all its messy, beautiful moments. And I was grateful for Tom, who had sparked this change in me. I stood in my kitchen, my heart racing with excitement and trepidation. The idea of hosting a weekly dinner for my neighbors had blossomed in my mind. Fueled by the warmth of the connections I was beginning to forge with Tom and the others in our fitness class, I wanted to create a space where we could all come together, share a meal, and perhaps open up about our lives. I could almost hear Ruth's voice in my head, encouraging me. Maggie, you're not just teaching anymore, you're creating a community. As I chopped vegetables for the dinner, I felt a surge of determination. I wanted to make this special. I could already picture the table, adorned with a colorful spread of healthy dishes, laughter echoing off the walls, and stories being exchanged. But as the hour approached, doubt crept in. What if nobody came? What if they didn't like my cooking? Just then, my phone buzzed. It was Tom. Hey, Maggie. Just checking in. Looking forward to tonight. Me too, Tom. Just putting the final touches on everything. I hope they'll enjoy the meal, I replied, trying to mask the nervousness in my voice. Of course they will. It's not just about the food, you know. It's about the company, he reassured me. His words soothed my anxious heart, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose. As the clock struck 6, I set the table, each plate a canvas for the wholesome dishes I had prepared. I even found a small bouquet of wildflowers in my garden to place in the center. When the doorbell rang, I took a deep breath and opened the door to welcome my neighbors. At first, the atmosphere was thick with uncertainty. They shuffled in, glancing around at each other, unsure of how to break the ice. I greeted everyone warmly, trying to fill the silence with cheerful chatter. Welcome. I'm so glad you could make it. I made a quinoa salad and roasted vegetables. Feel free to help yourselves. I watched as they hesitated, eyeing the food with skepticism. Quinoa? Isn't that just birdseed? One neighbor joked, trying to lighten the mood. I chuckled, relieved to see a flicker of smiles among them. Actually, it's quite delicious. You will see, I replied, gesturing for them to dig in. As we settled around the table, I encouraged everyone to share something about themselves. Let's go around and introduce ourselves. Maybe we can share a favorite memory or hobby. I suggested. The first few moments were awkward, filled with nervous laughter and glances at the food. But slowly, as they took bites and found the flavor surprising, the conversation began to flow. I used to love painting when I was younger, one woman, Eleanor, said, her eyes lighting up. But I haven't picked up a brush in years. Why not start again? I encouraged her, my heart swelling with the possibilities of rekindled passions. I guess I just lost the time, you know, she sighed, looking around at the group. But maybe I should make time. Tom chimed in. We should all make time for the things we love. Life is too short to let our passions fade away. The room filled with nods of agreement, and I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. We were connecting, sharing our lives, our fears, and our dreams. The dinner was becoming more than just a meal. It was a gathering of souls seeking companionship and understanding. As the night progressed, I noticed a shift in the energy. Laughter replaced silence, and stories flowed freely. I felt a warmth enveloping us, a sense of belonging that I hadn't experienced in years. After dinner, as we cleared the table, I turned to Tom, who was standing nearby, a smile on his face. Can you believe how well that went? I asked, my heart still racing with joy. Absolutely. You should be proud, Maggie. You've brought us all together, he said, his eyes shining with sincerity. I couldn't have done it without your support, I replied, feeling grateful for his presence in my life. But as the evening came to a close, I couldn't shake the feeling that I wanted to do more. I wanted to continue nurturing the sense of community, to help others find joy and purpose as I was beginning to. Later that week, I shared my thoughts with Tom over coffee. What if we started a walking group? I proposed something to get us all moving and connected. We can encourage each other, just like we have been. Tom looked thoughtful for a moment before nodding. That sounds like a fantastic idea, Maggie. I think it could really help us all. Little did I know, as we embarked on this new venture, our journey would take unexpected turns, revealing both the fragility and resilience of life as we navigated the challenges ahead together. I had always imagined that aging would be a gentle process, a slow slide into serenity. But here I was, feeling the weight of my years pressing down on me as I watched Tom brush off his health issues. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and the sun filtered through the trees that lined the park where we walked. The golden light danced on the pavement, but all I could see was the worry etched on Tom's face. "Tom, you really need to see a doctor about your medication," I urged, my voice laced with concern. "You can't just manage this on your own. It's not just about you anymore. What about your family?" He chuckled lightly, shaking his head as if my words were a minor annoyance. "Maggie, I've been managing just fine without those pills. I'll get around to it." Frustration bubbled within me, and I fought against the urge to shout. Tom had become such an important part of my life, and I couldn't bear the thought of losing him. "But you're not fine," I insisted, stopping mid-stride to face him. "You're tired all the time, and you're not eating properly. You have to take this seriously. Look, I appreciate your concern, but I've dealt with worse things in my life." "I'll manage," he replied, his tone dismissive, but I could see the flicker of worry in his eyes. I sighed, feeling helpless. "Just promise me that you'll think about it. I want you to be around for a long time." As we resumed our walk, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread that settled in my stomach. What if I lost him? The thought was unbearable. My thoughts wandered to Linda, who had recently joined our walking group. She was a vibrant 63-year-old artist, full of life and creativity, but I sensed a loneliness in her that mirrored my own past struggles. "Hey, Linda," I called out as we approached her, painting a bright image with the vibrant colors she often wore. "How are you finding the walking group?" She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "It's nice to be out and about. I've spent too much time alone in my studio." I understood that feeling all too well. "I know what you mean. Sometimes I get so caught up in my own little world that I forget how important connection is." "Absolutely. It's easy to isolate ourselves. But being here with all of you has reminded me how vital it is to have people around," she said, her voice tinged with gratitude. We walked together, sharing snippets of our lives, and I felt a spark of connection forming between us. It was comforting to know I wasn't alone in my struggles, and I sensed that Linda felt the same. But my joy was short-lived. During our next walk, something terrible happened. We were just finishing our route when I noticed Tom lagging behind. "Tom, come on, we're almost there," I called out, but when I turned to look, panic gripped me. He was on the ground, his face pale and eyes closed. "Tom!" I rushed to his side, my heart racing. "Tom, wake up, please!" The world around me blurred as I knelt beside him, my hands trembling. I could feel tears welling in my eyes as I desperately checked for signs of life. The park, once a sanctuary, felt like a nightmare. "Someone call 911. I shouted, my voice breaking as I pressed my fingers to his wrist, praying for a pulse. It was faint but there. "Stay with me, Tom. Help is coming." Moments felt like hours as I held his hand, the warmth fading from his skin. I could feel guilt clawing at my heart, gnawing at me as I replayed our earlier conversation. What if I had pushed him harder? What if I had insisted he see a doctor sooner? As the sirens wailed in the distance, I wiped my tears, determined not to let fear take over. Tom needed me now more than ever, and I would be there for him. I wouldn't let him go. When the paramedics arrived, they worked quickly, but all I could focus on was the fear in my heart. As they loaded him onto the stretcher, I squeezed his hand tightly. "I'm here, Tom. I'm right here." The hospital was a blur of sterile white walls and bustling nurses. I sat beside him in the waiting room, my heart aching with worry. I couldn't shake the thought that I had failed him, that I could have done more. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I held his hand, wishing for a miracle. The morning sun streamed into my kitchen as I prepared a simple breakfast. The smell of whole grain toast filled the air, a stark contrast to the sugary cereals I used to indulge in. I was still buzzing from the energy of the art and wellness workshop Linda had suggested. It was a bold step, but I felt it was just what Tom needed. As I spread avocado on my toast, I couldn't shake the anxious feeling in my stomach. What if Tom didn't want to participate? What if he still felt trapped in his old habits? I could hear a faint knock on the door, and my heart raced. It was Tom. I opened the door, and his smile made my worries fade, even if just for a moment. "Hey, Maggie, ready for today?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Absolutely. I was just thinking about how much fun we'll have. Linda is bringing some of her paintings, and I think it will be a great way to engage everyone," I said, trying to sound more enthusiastic than I felt. "I hope my art skills are up to par," he chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck nervously. "Trust me, it's not about talent. It's about expression. And besides, I'm sure you'll be great," I reassured him, grabbing my bag. As we made our way to the community center, I couldn't help but notice how his shoulders seemed a bit slumped. I wanted to ask him about it, but I hesitated. The last thing I wanted was to push him away when he was finally opening up. Inside the community center, the atmosphere was buzzing with excitement. People were mingling. Some were already gathered around Linda's vibrant paintings. I looked over at Tom, who stood awkwardly by the entrance, and motioned for him to join me. "Come on, let's dive in," I encouraged, pulling him toward a group of neighbors who were gathering around Linda's artwork. "Wow, these are beautiful," Tom said, his eyes lighting up as he examined a colorful canvas. "Isn't she talented? She really captures emotions through her art," I replied, feeling a sense of pride for our friend. As the workshop began, I introduced Tom and explained our shared journey towards better health. I noticed Tom's gaze drift toward the floor, an indication that he was still grappling with something. I felt a twinge of concern, but decided to let him take his own time. Linda led the group in a discussion about how creativity can boost mental health, and I watched as Tom slowly began to engage. He shared a story from his childhood about how he loved to draw, but had given it up after losing his wife. "I never thought I'd pick up a pencil again," he said, his voice low but steady. "But being here with all of you, it makes me want to try." "Tom, that's wonderful. We're all here to support each other," I said, my heart swelling with hope. As the workshop progressed, I could see the walls he had built around himself begin to crack. During a break, I pulled him aside. "Hey, can we chat for a minute? You've been so quiet today, and I want to make sure you're okay." He hesitated, glancing around as if searching for an escape. "Maggie, I appreciate everything you're doing," but he paused, taking a deep breath. "I need to tell you something. Something important." My heart raced. "What is it, Tom? You can tell me anything." He looked down, his voice barely above a whisper. "I've been diagnosed with a heart condition. That's why I've been so tired lately. I didn't want to burden you with it." I felt the weight of his words crash over me. "Oh, Tom, why didn't you tell me sooner? We could have faced this together." "I didn't want to ruin our friendship. You were helping me find joy again, and I didn't want to drag you down with my problems," he confessed, his eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Tom, you could never drag me down. We're in this together. I want to help you, but I need you to let me in," I said, my voice firm yet gentle. He looked at me, vulnerability etched on his face. "I'm scared, Maggie. What if I can't change? What if I don't have enough time?" I took a step closer, placing my hand on his. "We can figure this out. Together. You're not alone in this, okay?" Tom nodded slowly, and in that moment, I realized how far we had both come. We were no longer just two people struggling with our health. We were friends, ready to face whatever came next. As we rejoined the group, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. Whatever secrets Tom had kept, I knew we could overcome them. Together, we would support each other and inspire those around us to embrace a healthier, fuller life. As the workshop buzzed with energy and vibrant colors, I couldn't shake the weight of Tom's revelation from my mind. I could see him across the room, his usual spark dimmed by the burden he had carried in silence. The walls of the community center were adorned with art created by our neighbors, an explosion of creativity that felt like a desperate attempt to mask the underlying fears we all faced. I approached him, hesitating for a moment before placing a hand on his shoulder. "Tom," I said softly, "I didn't know. Why didn't you tell me?" He looked up, his eyes reflecting a mixture of relief and sorrow. "Maggie, I didn't want to drag you down. You've already done so much for me. I thought if I put on a brave face, it would be easier for both of us." My heart sank, but you're not a burden. We're in this together. You've been my rock through all this, I replied, my voice thick with emotion. "Let me help you." Tom sighed, his shoulders drooping. "I'm scared, Maggie. This heart condition, it's rare, and I don't know what it means for my future. I just wish I could go back to how things were." "Maybe we can't go back," I said, my voice steadying. "But we can move forward. We can figure this out together. We'll make a plan. We'll manage your health, and we'll inspire others to do the same. You're not alone in this." His gaze met mine, and I could see a flicker of hope igniting behind his worry. "You really want to do this?" "Absolutely," I smiled, determination bubbling in my chest. "Let's start by talking to Linda. She's been a great support, and I'm sure she'll have some ideas." Just then, Linda approached us, her paint-speckled apron a testament to her creative spirit. "What's going on, you two?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. "Tom just shared some news," I said, my voice steady but my heart racing. "He's been diagnosed with a heart condition." Linda's expression shifted to one of concern. "Oh, Tom, I'm so sorry to hear that. But you're not alone in this. We'll figure it out together. What can we do to help?" "I think we should start an awareness campaign," I suggested, feeling the excitement of a new mission bubbling within. "We can combine art and health education. Maybe even create workshops where people can learn about heart health while expressing themselves creatively." Tom's eyes widened and a smile crept across his face. "That sounds incredible. If we can help even one person, it'll make this all worth it." Linda clapped her hands together, her enthusiasm contagious. "Let's make it happen. We can use my art studio for the first session. We can create materials that highlight the importance of heart health in a fun and engaging way." As we brainstormed ideas, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I could see how our little initiative could blossom into something larger, bringing awareness to not only Tom's condition, but to the health challenges faced by our community. Later that week, as we sat together in Linda's studio, canvases sprawled across the tables, we began to outline our plans. The walls echoed with laughter and shared stories as we painted, each stroke releasing a bit of our anxiety and fear. And then out of the blue, an email popped into my inbox. It was from a local health organization that had been following our community efforts. They were impressed by our initiative and wanted to sponsor a health initiative based on our success. They proposed that Tom, Linda, and I speak at a conference, sharing our journey and inspiring others to take control of their health. I read the email aloud, my voice trembling with excitement. This is it. This could be our chance to reach even more people. Tom looked at me, his eyes bright with hope. "You mean we can actually make a difference?" "Absolutely," I beamed. "This is just the beginning." As we planned for the upcoming conference, I felt a warmth spreading through me. It was as if the universe was aligning, pushing us towards something greater. We weren't just three friends trying to navigate the challenges of aging. We were becoming advocates for change, proving that it's never too late to reclaim our health and happiness. The day of the conference arrived, and as I stood beside Tom and Linda on the stage, the supportive faces of our community filled the seats before us. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of our journey behind me. Together, we would share our story, our struggles, and our triumphs, reminding everyone that change is possible at any age. As we stepped down from the stage, the applause still ringing in my ears, I felt a sense of fulfillment wash over me. Tom, Linda, and I exchanged smiles, a silent promise passing between us. We were ready to face whatever came next together.